Hi, everyone. Welcome to meal kit number 26 for the week of November 17th to the 21st. Thanks for ordering this week. Thanks for cooking with us, letting us cook for you, and finishing it off in your homes. We're excited to do this for you. This is one of my favorite meals because I love duck. There's all kinds of great things here. The appetizer is super easy to plate. There is very little to do, so we'll get into that in a second. We're gonna dive right into the main course. So we've got your beautiful sous vide duck breast. You get a full duck breast if you're two, or you'll get a half of this super large duck breast if you're for one. We have done most of the cooking for you already. So we've done it sous vide, so it's basically cooked to rare, and then we're gonna warm it up, render the fat, and then finish it off. So you'll wanna get a plate and with a paper towel and put it on there to take up any of the juices that are still in the bag. And what you're going to want to do is take some salt and pepper and season it very generously. Because duck tastes better when there's lots of seasoning on it. So I always start with the non-fat side and then followed by the fat side. And you want to get your pan pretty warm. So I'm going to put this on the gas stove to get it nice and hot quickly. And then I'm going to switch them up. We're going to cook two things in the pan, both of which need some canola oil, or in my case, I like to use grapeseed oil. So a nice big dollop of that. While that's warming up, we want to think about what else we've got. So in your vegetable box, you should have the broccoli, the bok choy, and then fondant potatoes. Now, fondant potatoes are really great because they're actually cooked in duck fat, and we're going to finish them off in duck fat as well. So when the pan gets pretty warm, that's when we're putting the duck in, and then the potatoes are going in there as well. While the pan is warming up, we're going to plate the appetizer, which is this gorgeous Ontario pork terrine. So we deal with Perth pork a lot, and they do a great product with heritage Tamworth pork just in Perth, Ontario, so just outside of Ottawa. So in this case, I'm going to put both on one because I love family style food. So to be able to let people share around the table. So there's three of us in our household, my wife Maureen and our son Shannon. And we've got this gorgeous chutney and the cornichon, and then the crostini. My son grabbed one of these just before I started the meal kit filming. And don't forget the smoked salt that we included in this, because terrines are no good without the proper seasoning. Just about anything is not good without the proper seasoning. So our pan is going to get nice and warm. So I'm going to switch off in just a second because I'm going to get this guy a little warmer. And then the duck is going in. So fat side down. We've done this little cross-hatch Hasselback to it, and that allows the pork or the duck fat to render better. So I know this might seem a little intimidating at first, but it is really very easy. So once the duck is in there, then the potatoes are going to go in as well. So make sure you get a pan that's big enough for all the potatoes to finish in there. Says the guy who didn't get a pan that was big enough for all the potatoes. So we're just going to move these around to make sure that we get some space in there. Because there's nothing better than potatoes that are cooked in duck fat. All right. The dessert today is also very easy. It's the only thing that's going in the oven today. So this guy is getting warm for our veg, but the veg is only going to take about 5-7 minutes total. So we're going to talk about the wine in the meantime. The appetizer wine with the pork terrine is just sort of a classic match. So it's a rosé from St. John's. This is a famous restaurant in London, England. And they went and bottled their own wine down in Provence because why would you not? It's a fabulous place that makes beautiful rosé from the Grenache grape. From the iconic nose to tail London restaurant, beautifully put together Grenache-based rosé from southern France. Fresh acidity, bright strawberry and raspberry, dry and crisp on the finish, capable of sweeping you away from the cold fall night to the banks of the Mediterranean. So says Connor, our wine director. And it really does. I'm just picturing the south of France right now. Okay, so the brownness is going well on the duck. I'm going to switch it over. Um, don't worry about switching it back and forth a couple times. The potatoes are also crisping up very nicely in the fat. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And we're going to switch off to, oh, this makes me so happy. We're going to switch off to the slightly less hot pan, and then the veg are going to go in here. All right, and the demi-glaze, the sauce is just gorgeous. So, so it's a beef reduction. There's some duck jus in there too, and some fresh herbs. Now make sure that we want to whisk it around. And this guy is going to go there. You'll find it very gelatinous when you're pulling it out of the containers. That is on purpose. That is the marrow bones of the beef that reduce down and has that beautiful gelatinous quality that makes it so rich in your mouth when you enjoy it with the duck. Okay, duck's moving along well. I think we'll get into the veg. So a little bit of canola oil. Keep some butter at hand because you're going to finish off with the butter. But we're going to take the broccoli and the bok choy. And a little bit of a sizzle there. And don't forget, like with every week, we're going to season salt and pepper. Because it makes everything taste better. So let me show you our beautiful Perth pork terrine done with the homemade chutney, the cornichon, and the crostini. You're going to love that. Great way to start. If you guys like a little bit of mustard with yours, I like it. Put a little Dijon there. Terrific. That's how we're doing on our duck. So both sides are pretty well brown. The potatoes are getting there too. So I'm actually going to turn this guy off because I don't want the potatoes to overcook, but I'm going to leave them in the duck fat until they're nice and brown. But the duck is almost done rendering its fat. Don't forget to give this a little turn because you want to caramelize your vegetables. Now, while we're doing this, I'm going to put the dessert in the oven. So the dessert comes in this metal tin. You can just use this. In it, it's very important to note that there's 2 ramekins in there with the garnishes. Make sure to take those out and take the lid off before you put in the oven. Now, they're delicate, so the poached pear cubes are going to fall off a little bit. That's okay. Put it in the oven. If it falls off, no problem, because you're going to reassemble it when it comes out of the oven. So 5 minutes in the oven at 350 should do it. Now, with the duck, you want to get a resting rack nearby. So I use a cookie sheet with a little baking tray on top of it because that allows some nice warmth to come through. So you might think, hey, that's not a long time for cooking the duck. But don't forget, we've cooked it sous vide for you. So put it fat side down because that'll let it run out. But you want to keep it warm. So if you have a cast iron pan that you're frying these things in, just turn them over if the heat is off. Keep the side that is most white down. And what I do is I just rest it on top. So it keeps it warm while the duck is resting. It's so important to rest the duck. So 5 minutes is good. If you can wait 7, 8 minutes, then that's even better. So the longer it rests, the more the juices go to the center of the duck. And when you cut it, it doesn't run all over the place. Very key. Now I'm going to fill some air by talking about the red wine. But first, I want to say cheers to some of our huge regulars who have been big support to us, especially over the last bunch of weeks. So Robert and Deborah, David C., Susan M., Skip H., Craig S., You guys have been amazing, and we're so grateful for your ordering, for your feedback, for all your great wishes. You have helped us employ a bunch of our staff when our dining rooms can only be open to a very small percentage of our regular diners. And so just wanted to say thanks and being part of this. Now, let's talk about the wine. This is a Pinot Noir from Rosewood Estates in Niagara. I'm going to throw the butter. Got 2 tablespoons of butter here, and we're going to finish it off in the pan. Very small owner-operated winery, gorgeous producers, unfiltered, unfined, using natural indigenous yeasts. Stuff that's very hard to do on a grand scale. You can only do it in the small producers, and that's why we love working with them. And this is a light, delicate, gorgeous wine. The acidity cuts through the fat of the duck and just brightens up everything, especially the fondant potatoes that are going to be a little bit rich and decadent. And same thing with the demi-glaze. So just tossing the veg around there in the butter. We're going to be plating them very soon. Okay, the dessert's in. The demi-glaze is bubbling. So I'm going to take this off, and we're going to plate our potatoes. Make sure to use a trivet or a cutting board, something like that, to get it all down and not burn your countertop. My wife is very good at reminding me to always use a trivet. Duck fat fondant potatoes. How lovely. All right, don't forget to season them, right? Key, a little pepper, because you're not seasoning the potatoes ahead of time. The smoked salt out of there. Okay, our veg is going next. Let's make sure not to burn my hands. Bok choy. And try to get some of the green poking out. Because again, like we always say, the camera eats first. Yes, no beeping. Stop that. I love this stove, except for the beeping. Get that out. Lovely. And our demi-glaze. Make sure we got it warm enough. Just going to warm that up a little bit more while we're cutting our duck. Okay, so let's fingers hope I've rested it enough. So with the duck, you want to cut it on the bias, so against, so the short side instead of the long side, because this way it forces the person who's eating it to cut it the opposite direction, which means that you're having it much more tender. Because if you were to cut it like this, and the other person is slicing it this way on their plate, it might look very pretty when you first put it down, but trust me, it's not going to be as delicate. All right, I think we've rested it enough. Doesn't look like it's running too much, even though I tried to speed things up a little bit for this video. A beautiful medium rare, which is what we're looking for. My favorite pieces are the end pieces because they get to caramelize a little bit more. So what I usually do with my son and my wife, I cooked that just the other night for them, is I bring them a little taste. The end piece. Don't forget to season it very well. I know you season it at the beginning, but we're going to season a little bit more right at the end. And what you can do is you can flip this over, because the skin side is the really pretty side, and fan it out. Beautiful. Now, I would actually suggest, if you're seeing this picture, I'm going to suggest rendering the fat a little bit more so that you don't see much white. So you'll see this picture, but recognize that I am not perfect on this front. And in the future, I would suggest rendering the fat a little bit more so there's very little white and only gray or brown. Wow, that is so good. Then we got the Demi-Glaze. On top, and then particularly good around. This is good. And in the meantime, let me talk to you about Christmas, because that's coming up in a hurry. We're doing some beautiful corporate gifts. You can do Wine Club, Beckta Wine Club, for 3 months, starting at $175 a month. Gets you a wine snack, gets you a Zoom wine tasting with Connor, our awesome sommelier, every month that we started to do, and the other wine club members. And then we also have these meal kits, of course, for larger groups. And we have your private Zoom tasting if you want to order up for your company. What a great way to get together and enjoy the holidays when you can't be together in person. All right, I want to take the dessert out because it's probably ready to go. Put that on there. So don't forget, always clean up the place real nice. So that wasn't too hard, eh? There is our gorgeous Rougie Farm duck breast with the Bok Choy, Fondant potatoes, and roasted broccoli. And then dessert it is. Okay, cancel all that stuff. Usually I'm done dessert by now. We're just going to clean this up. And I did well. The duck did not run, which means that I let it rest enough. Hopefully you guys had the patience that I usually don't have. All right. So if you have like an offset spatula like this, it works really well. And you want to get right under there for the pear tarte tatin. And again, just sort of scoop up the rest of the pear, put it on top. Sort of a deconstructed tarte tatin, but beautiful, filled with lots of butter. Hope you guys like butter as much as I do. So tonight we've got a really interesting combo. With the pear, we have a cheddar crumble. So make sure the bits are nice and bite size. You might have to just crumble it up a little bit as you're putting it on. And the cheddar gives it a really fun, salty component. I love sweet, salty desserts. All right, and then the creme anglaise, which I've left in the fridge. Hope you guys did too. So that it just has a little bit more thickness to it. I'm going to try one sort of drizzled right on top and one drizzled around. Let's see which one looks better for the camera. I like this guy. Okay. Clean up your plate. And that is our pear tarte tatin with the cheddar crumble and the Earl Grey tea creme anglaise. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for cooking with us. I hope you didn't find it too difficult, because I didn't, but I cook duck a lot. So good luck, and I know you're going to do great. And I hope you enjoy the meal, and I hope we get to cook for you again real soon.